Hey guys, Ezra here. Welcome back to another Ezra review. And on today's video, it's gonna be a bit different because I'm not reviewing a movie, but I'm reviewing a game, specifically Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. However, there is a catch here, because I'm gonna be specifically talking about the story and the character rather than the gameplay. There is a reason for that. So let me explain. I didn't exactly play this game because I can. This game was exclusive to PlayStation 5. Even if the game was like released on PC, I still kind of like again I can't play the game still because like my PC is very old. I'm not joking, man. It's very old. So it's like yeah, it really sucks. I wish I could buy a new PC, for future use, obviously, but well, it's pretty expensive, so we have to wait for maybe several years for that. Who knows? So that's like the main reason why I can't play the game. Now, I really wanted to play Final Fantasy VII, the remake trilogy, so much. Well, it's supposed to be a trilogy, but part 2 is gonna be released like later on, maybe 2027. Who knows? But yeah, that's like the main reason, and I hope you guys can understand why I decided to talk about this because I love this franchise so much. Because I love the character, I love the story, I love the music. I think it's a great music. I love like the several location that this game has, and how like all the region and town has their own I guess histories and stories to tell related to the character. I think this is like fantastic. And on top of that, I love the villain, obviously Sephiroth, right? I think one of the coolest villain ever, and has the best villain theme ever. Like the One Wing Angel, like that was epic, man. I love it so much. And yeah, I get to know the game back in 2020, specifically June 2020. I think 2 months after the remake came out. And that's where I become the big fan and kind of like catching up to like the original Final Fantasy VII, because I love the remake so much. I go back to not play again, but watch, the original Final Fantasy VII, and yeah, I safe to say I love the entire story. I now know like the big part of the story, maybe not like the specific details of it. I'm not like a hardcore fan of Final Fantasy VII, but I'm quite a big fan, for Final Fantasy VII, even though that I don't know every single detail of the story and the character, but I do love them, I guess in the broader way. So that's why I decided to make several videos talking about them already, not on this channel, but actually on my first channel called Ezra Time. The link is in the description if you guys want to check it out. That's where I talk about, the my theory for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and talk about like the remake as well, what I love them, but yeah, that's like pretty much my introduction for the new viewers here, because this is a new channel. So that's the reason, and I hope you guys understand. I don't have any like malicious intent for like talking Final Fantasy VII, because I know it's a daunting task to talk about this game, because the Final Fantasy VII fandom has been so big and spanned on several generations, and I'm probably like the newest generation of Final Fantasy VII that is probably really weird and probably doesn't have any right to say anything about this game, because I don't exactly play this game. I actually again, I just watch a stream, like a streaming let's play of it, and I specifically watch Maximilian Dude, which is like the guy for Final Fantasy VII, essentially. I love Maximilian. I think he's a great streamer as well, so I've been enjoying seeing his stream a lot, and that's where I basically know like the story and the character for Final Fantasy VII Remake in the first place, and he makes me love Final Fantasy VII even more now, especially with the future theory, the timeline theory back in the day, which is proved to be true, by the way, which is like insane. But this game also has a lot more question, which we're gonna get to that later. So here's my plan for like the video itself. On this video I'm gonna be talking specifically about the story and the character. Like I said, so I think I'm gonna go like per region, because there's like 6 region here. So I'm gonna go to like the story bits and the story elements. I won't be mentioning every single detail of the story, because again, this game is like 100 hours long and there's like so many elements, so I probably pick like several moments that I like, especially about the side quest. But the main story I try to remember as much as possible, because there is some pretty big one later on, which I'm gonna linger to that probably quite some time now. But I do plan to make 200 videos after this, where I'm gonna be talking about the ending theory, and the third video is gonna be about my expectation for part 3, so like that's my current plan. So yeah, again, there will be a timestamp in the description below, guys. If you guys don't really want to watch like my rant for the intro, then yeah, just check the description for the timestamp, guys, where I go to like each region to talk about the story, so yeah, without further ado, let's just begin from the very beginning, shall we? So the very beginning, the Kalm flashback, right? I think that is like the fantastic start of the game, and I think that has been talked a lot about, like many people, especially Maximilian, was presented the idea that, oh, we're gonna start with the flashback. Well, Not really, because the game start with Zack instead, which is like, yeah, Zack is alive. He's in another timeline, and the game pretty much like start that way. Because when the demo start, I was like, oh, like they start with the Nibelheim flashback, and which is like, yeah, makes sense because that's how like the game kind of continues in the OG FF7, But no, the game start with Zack carrying Cloud to Midgar, and that's where we got the title card for the first time, right? Which is insane. And then we get like a little bit of an update from the alternate world of Zack, because there is this weird scene where like this soldier talking about like, oh, there is like the fugitive is an ex-soldier with a buster sword, and I'm just like, wait a second, like Zack and Cloud just arrived at Midgar, so like why would they be talking about the ex-soldier with a buster sword? And clearly the Midgar was destroyed because of our action back in remake, where Sephiroth basically invite us to like the singularity, where we fight like the giant arbiters of fate, and that creates like a tornado that basically destroy Midgar. Who is that soldier? It can be Zack, it can be Cloud, because they just arrived here. And I think the explanation is that maybe because the timeline is merging, so that's why the soldier or like the Shinra guy was probably confused. It's like, oh, I'm in the same timeline. Yes, there is an ex-soldier running around. Like clearly no, like it's entirely new. But that was interesting, and also we get to see Zack trying to rescue Aerith. And then the next scene is kind of surprised me because I thought Aerith dies. Because like the white materia is like falling from her hair, so I thought it was like, oh, like did she just die in Zack's timeline? Because like her music started playing after that, and then we see Zack crying. So I'm just like, oh, like did she just die in the Zack's timeline? Huh? That's so weird, But like it was confirmed that, well, later on we get to see a bit more of Zack, but it was a long time before we get to that, And the Nibelheim flashback, we get to that, and after this we get to the Nibelheim flashback, which I think, okay, cool. I think the Nibelheim flashback are, again, it's really well directed, It's nice to see like the different side of Sephiroth in a way, and we get to see Cloud, quote unquote Cloud here, basically helping Sephiroth, which I think that's really cool. They're really like building up that Sephiroth is actually just a good guy, just a hero, but unless he found like the truth about Jenova, like who Jenova actually is, and then who he was actually, and that's basically turned him into evil. And I really love how they do the Nibelheim incident, because like you kind of see like the visual of it this time around, because they kind of teased that with a remake, in the Cloud has like a vision in chapter 1, I think, or like chapter 2, I forgot. But now we can actually see the actual Nibelheim incident, and it was like, wow, dude, like it was super horrific. Like everybody was just like crying and sad. Obviously, like their village just got burned down by the man that they once called hero, and now like the man Sephiroth is just like killing people left and right. Just like, oh, like super sadistic in a way. And we also see Cloud trying to rescue the mother, with his mother, which I think that, oh man, like this is heartbreaking to see. However, on this incident, there is like one stupid scene in my opinion, where like a bunch of the Nibelheim residents, and I think one of the mayor, I think like the mayor is also like has a gun along with 3 other men, and they try to stop Sephiroth. But for some reason they didn't shoot the gun. They just like standing around aiming the gun at Sephiroth, and like Sephiroth just like dispatched them one by one using his Masamune sword, and I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? Because like I feel like if you have a gun, you should at least try to shoot the gun, right? Because here's the thing, I feel like, yes, I don't think Sephiroth is going to get killed by the gun, because I think Sephiroth are super powerful, right? Which, yeah, makes sense, but I feel like there is a better scene to do, because I feel like you could see Sephiroth like trying to dodge the bullet, and then finally using the Masamune try to dispatch them one by one, which he does in the game, but he does it like super slow. And when the guy got like slaughtered one by one, by the way, they didn't even shoot once. And I'm just like, what are you doing? You have a gun, shoot Sephiroth. It's not gonna kill him because like he's super powerful, I guess, but at the same time, just shoot the gun. You have a gun, shoot them. Like, what are you doing? What are you just like, waving around the gun and not doing anything, So like, I don't know. Like that direction of the scene is like, it's supposed to show like Sephiroth is cool, he's like dispatching or like killing this guy one by one. But at the same time, I'm just like, this scene is just stupid, man. They have a gun, so shoot the gun. Like this is my my argument, I guess. But after that, we get to see like the rest of the flashback that, oh, Cloud reveals that, oh, the rest is blank. Which like, yeah. if you play OGFF7, you know what that means, you know. So I think that's a great teaser right there. And the next thing that we got in common, which I think is my favorite, is that I'm a huge Cloud and Tifa shipper, so I think I really love the dynamic between the two of them throughout the game. But I do like this one scene in Kalm, you know, where Tifa basically asking Aerith that, oh, like, as far as I know, Cloud was never in Nibelheim 5 years ago. So I was like, okay, like, she definitely remembers what happened in Nibelheim. But again, that's not the entire truth, obviously, because Cloud was indeed in Nibelheim, just in a different way, you know. So she decided to basically confront Cloud about this, you know, having a conversation. But I do like how Sephiroth appeared in Cloud's mind saying that, but I killed her, like I killed Tifa in Nibelheim, so who is she? You know, like the manipulation game started again, which I think I love it, you know, because that's what Sephiroth was, you know, manipulating Cloud since the OG FF7, you know. So we get the conversation in the roof, you know, where Cloud and Tifa are talking to each other, which I think is great. Tifa is showing her scar, so she does have a scar kind of underneath her clothes in a way. They don't show that, but which I think is for a clear reason. But yeah, she has a scar, and then she basically give an update for Cloud, like, hey, this is what happened after the Nibelheim incident. And then Tifa was like visibly disappointed in Cloud, you know, because like, where were you? Everybody was there for me because I was here now, I was safe, you know, thanks to everyone who helped me. But where were you, Cloud? You know, and then Cloud was like, you know, I can't tell you that, Tifa. You know, I'm just like, okay, like, I think this is just him trying to be cool, but at the same time, I think that it was meant to be taken verbatim, I guess, because like, he clearly doesn't know, you know, he doesn't even know what happens to the 5 years, you know, in throughout his life. And I think this just makes sense that he said that, I can't tell you that because I don't know, you know, which upset Tifa, you know. And then basically Tifa said that, well, when I first saw you, I was like super happy, super excited, you know, but maybe I shouldn't, you know, like. And Cloud was like, guess so. And then just like, god damn it, Cloud. Well done, man, handling the situation, great job. You know, Jesus, man. I mean, it was so in line with Cloud, you know, on the current state, you know, because this is not the real Cloud, you know. The real Cloud is not going to show up until part 3, so it makes sense, you know, because he is kind of like a weirdo and a dick in you know, sometimes, you know. So I think that's what the vibe I'm getting here. But I do like it, you know, because the Cloud and Tifa has some drama, you know, some sweet drama in the game, which they kind of like resolve later on. But I do like it, you know, because like the other character, like Barra, pretty much realized that, oh, there is something going on between the two of you, right? Like, come on, like, just speak honestly, man. You know, and pretty much everyone, including Aerith, was like, well, don't take Tifa for granted, Cloud. You know, even on the date scene in the clock tower, right? Okay, Aerith literally said that, hey, don't take her for granted, you know. And Cloud was like, yeah, okay, you know. But yeah, that's the calm part. And then we get to see the Midgar Summer, right? Which I think just super massive. And I think even Tetsuya Nomura, which is the creative director for this game, he even said that, oh, I want the Midgar Summer to be even 10 times bigger. And then just like, whoa, whoa, dude, like this snake is already big, man. Like, holy shit, you know. Again, I'm sorry if I'm like maybe skipping several parts, you know, because again, it's a long game, guys. So I'm gonna try to talk about the main story, you know. So I might be juggling the story here on every region, so I apologize, but I try my best to keep them concise. So yeah. So again, back to Midgar Summer. I like the fight scene. I do love this part where the snake basically dragged Cloud down into the swamp, like he nearly drowned, and then Sephiroth appear and he kills the snake, you know, which eventually create that iconic image from the original game where the snake just like dead in the tree, you know, getting stabbed by a tree. So I was like, oh, that's really cool, you know, because like Sephiroth needs Cloud to be alive, you know, because like he needs Cloud to deliver the Black Materia, and at the same time, Sephiroth was able to exist thanks to Cloud, you know. So like, yeah, Cloud is very important to Sephiroth. So it's nice to see Sephiroth actually saving Cloud from the snake, you know. I think that's a great addition. That's a great scene. And then after that, we get to see like we get to meet some new characters, you know, which is Elena, the Turk, right? So I think I love Elena so much, man, because I think like she remind me of Yuffie in a way, because like she's new, right? And obviously her personality was like so just like you know, like super like teenage girl in a way, because like, yes, she's the youngest one, she's the newest member. Yeah, I like her. You know, I think it's a great introduction, you know. And we also get some scene between Barrett and Red 13, you know, where they're like trying to basically bond with each other, you know. And I think throughout the game, Barrett actually called Red 13 by his actual name, which is Nanaki, because at this moment Barrett understands who Red 13 actually is. But I think that's a great character, man, you know. And after this, we get to the Junon region. Jeez, there is many more region. This is gonna be a long ass video, guys. So like, yeah, sit tight. So the Junon region, I love it, where we get to the under Junon, we met Priscilla, we met Yuffie for the first time. And then there's a funny scene where Cloud trying to revive Yuffie, and then Yuffie was like, "Hey, what are you doing to me? You creep, like I love it so much. I love Yuffie a lot in this game, because I think, like she has a yeah, I mean, like her goal is like getting materia for Wu Tai, but eventually like it evolved to something else in the end, which I like it so much, But I love her energy so much, Like I think the rest of the party member was like super serious, and has some funny moments, But I feel like Yuffie is like the funniest moment in the game, or I guess like the one that has more self-awareness about what's going on and actually questioning a lot more stuff, which that makes sense, because Yuffie is like the youngest member of the class party, because I think everybody else was like above 20, I think, and then Yuffie was like 16. So it's like, yeah, it makes sense to me that she acts like a teenager, and Yuffie basically revealed to everyone like, oh, like I actually has a contract with the mayor of Under Junon, so I can actually go to the top of Junon and kill Rufus Shinra, which is like the newest president, which the party members was like, okay, like that's some plan you got there, and they are planning to go to the Junon anyway, so they can follow the rope guy, because that's what they've been doing, like follow this rope man, so we can actually find Sephiroth, so they get help from Priscilla and Mr. Dolphin. We get to the upper Junon area, which I think I love the scale of Junon in this game. I love how big the Sister Ray was, which is like the gun, and I love how they showed the High Wind, obviously, like how big that High Wind was. And even the character was like teasing that, man, we should like take the High Wind, man, like screw the boats, we should just take that giant airship, And Kalm was like, well, if you have a crew that knows how to fly the High Wind, then we could take the High Wind, sure. And Tifa was like, that's too bad, like that would have been a great transportation, man. I'm just like, oh man, like the dev is clearly teasing the players that, yeah, the High Wind is gonna be in part 3 clearly, but I'm just like, that's a nice tease right there. And also I love the scale again, which makes me go to the scene where the weapon are attacking Junon in the OGFS7. Man, it's gonna be so epic, man, because of the scale, but we'll talk about that later when I get to the part 3 videos, but for now, the story is obviously, I think we get to Rufus Shinra scenes, where we met Glam Rock, which I think is the character from Ever Crisis. And there is this funny theory about like Glenn being Cloud's father. I don't know about that. I don't think that's true. But either way, the scene is about Glenn basically taking over Wu Tai, or like controlling Wu Tai again. And Rufus actually remembered that, oh, wait a second, Glenn. I killed you before. I shot you in the back, And then he's here? Like, what the hell? What is happening, And then they pretty much set up something interesting about Shinra and Wu Tai. And there is this new leader called like, Viceroy Sarufa thing, which I think it might be Rufus Shinra, because there is a big element about Rufus Shinra character, because like Rufus is the one that invented Avalanche, So yeah, I think that's him. They were teasing that a lot, and now like Rufus is gonna go into war with Wu Tai, presumably, right, in part 3. I think that's going to happen. But yeah, that's a nice one scene that, oh, that is new and that is interesting, But we gotta talk, since we're talking about Junon, we gotta talk about the parade scene, I love how they introduced like a new character in this Junon scene, where there is this new commander lady. We don't know her name is, but maybe she's Elena's sister, maybe, I don't know. This new commander, I love her so much, because like she has a lot of personality along with her subordinate as well. And yeah, basically Cloud took control of the 7 infantry from Midgar, which again 7 of course, from Midgar, and Cloud becoming the captain alongside with Tifa and Aerith, because Tifa and Aerith was not in the OG FF7 when the parade happened, because the parade in the OG FF7 just happened briefly, like Cloud dressed as a normal troops, for Shinra, disguising himself, hiding in plain sight, and then the OG game and in the OG Final Fantasy 7, you just go to the parade and then that's it, like in this one they make you a captain and then they make you choose the moveset and the team as well. And Tifa and Aerith was actually alongside with Cloud, and I do love the scene where Cloud tried to give a speech but he was like so nervous, and then Aerith and Tifa is helping him out, and then Cloud was getting so into it, to the point that the girls was like, okay, Cloud, come on, okay, Captain, we gotta go, like the parade is about to start, like you're like, oh right, okay. But yeah, I love the parades a lot, and also, yeah, speaking of Junon, we see Roach again, which I think that's really, really cool. He's also like performing like a bike move in the parade, which I think that's really, really cool. But yeah, like the team basically won the president commendation, and then that's where Rufus revealed that, well, they know that it was actually Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith. And actually Rufus make an interesting deal to them, where it's like, oh, like I actually want you guys to after Sephiroth. Like Rufus wants Sephiroth dead, and he's gonna give that responsibility to Cloud and his party member. But Yuffie is ruining the scene again because like she's trying to kill Rufus, right? And that's basically mess up everything, mess up the deal. Like they're about to have some peace with Shinra, that didn't happen, which I think kind of like in line with the original game, because in the original game the Shinra is the secondary enemy essentially, because like Sephiroth is the main one. But yeah, so we get another interesting scene where Cloud is basically teaming up with the 7th Infantryman man essentially, and then they basically call Cloud Captain every single time, and I think they know that Cloud is like related to Avalanche in a way, which was revealed later on. But they still like follow him a lot, like Cloud is still their captain. But after that, we get to see the journey to Costa del Sol, which I think that's quite fun because they changed the ship into like a cruise ship, because in the old game it was just like a, I don't know, like a cargo ship, I think, right? And which is like, okay, kind of boring. Like you don't have a lot to do there except the Genova fight in the end. But in this one, it's like, oh, like it was more interesting because it's a cruise ship, so it's way more fun. And it was revealed that the captain holds several of the rope man because of Professor Hojo. It's like, okay, makes sense. Hojo is a dick from the very beginning. Because some Sephiroth fight, which is like the same as in the original game, except that it's quite cool. And after that, we get the Costa del Sol, which I think is really, really fun because the game just essentially turned into like a Yakuza game in a way. Because in Costa del Sol, we got like a swimsuit scene between Tifa and Aerith, which I think is quite cute, and hot as well. But we get some interesting plot point there. Well, once we get there, once we met Johnny again, he's opening a hotel. Aerith is like taking a shower, and then you see like him with red. It's just her with red 13, and then Aerith reveals that, oh, like my wife Materia is actually blank now. It's an empty Materia. And it was like, oh, that's so weird, and they basically explained that, oh, like because Materia is actually built from the person's memory, and I think Aerith mentioned that, oh, she lost her memory, which is like the memory of her mother Ifalna, right? And that's why she doesn't have the white Materia, and well, she has the Materia, but it was like blank. That it can't do anything right now because like it's just there is nothing, there is just nothing from the power and the memory, So it's like, okay, like I think that was Sephiroth doing, right? That's what Sephiroth was doing back in Midgar in the remake, where they basically erased Red 13 memory, because like apparently it was revealed that these two can see the future, which is quite insane, but now they can because like it was taken away from them, which okay, makes sense. And after that we get to see like Hojo again in the beach, and then they battle some fiends, some monster, which I think really cool. Johnny also has some really, really cool moment, where they try to save the rope guy, and then Yuffie is basically saving the party member, which I think is a nice addition as well. And I like after that moment where the party is like preparing to go to their journey again, we actually see Yuffie trying to be cool to Cloud or like to the team, and then Cloud just like, oh, cool, and he just walks off, which I think is a cute scene as well. But yeah, this is where Yuffie basically joining the party, and then we get to see and then after this we get to the Corel Region, which we basically got a big plot point about Barrett, But before we get that, we get a little bit of an update from Zack, which is insane because like we got that in the intro, and then now we're in chapter 7, I think, right? Which is like so far in between. It's like, oh yeah, Zack, I remember you. You're from another timeline, and then we get an interesting update where Aerith is actually not dead, and she's actually still alive alongside with Cloud, but they're both in coma. And then Zack reached out to Elmira, and then Elmira said that, oh, in this world, people believe that, oh, the world is about to end, And then Zack see the skies, and then it was revealed that the sky has like a huge rift, like a huge crack in the sky. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, what the hell is that, Which I think it might be alluding to the fact that, yes, it's a multiple worlds and stuff like that might get destroyed, obviously. But yeah, that is like a mad teasing from Zack's timeline, But we have to get back to the main storyline, which is about Barrett, And I think I love how they handle the Corel town in this game, because we get to see Barrett getting humiliated because like the Corel town was actually Barrett's mistake, because he wanted to trust Shinra, he trusts Shinra that, oh, this is actually can improve that our town, which eventually like is a big mistake, which led to the town getting burned down and was raided with Shinra in a way, because Shinra doesn't really care about the towns, obviously, and this is insane to me that the guy that basically against Shinra the entire time. Like I thought Barrett was always against Shinra the entire time, though, the entire time of his life, But that wasn't the case, Barrett actually trusted Shinra at one point of his life, and that because like that becomes like the main reason why he hate and despise Shinra, which I think that's a great storytelling, We also get a little bit of the storytelling by Tifa, where we get to see the doctor in the Corel town, and it was revealed that, oh yeah, this is the doctor that saved Tifa, which I think is a nice addition as well. I think it was like from the novel, right, the Trace of Two Past novel. So like, yeah, the novel is canon, man. It was here in the in Rebirth, like some of the elements was in this Rebirth, which I think that's quite cool. But then the party prepared to head to the Golden Saucer, which I think is the best part of the town in a way. Well, it's not a town; it's an amusement park. And I said that from the very beginning of the remake, in my first channel essentially, where I said that, well, I think the Gold Saucer is gonna be the wall market of Rebirth, and yeah, it was. It was really, really cool, man. It was really, really charming. It's really colorful, And I love like the introduction sequence in Ghost Saucer where we see Yuffie, Tifa, and Aerith like dancing around, and then you see Andrea try to like a dance off, and then you see Dio for the first time, which I think is quite fun, And like this entire Ghost Saucer sequence is really, really fun. And we finally met a new character named Kate Sith. That's how you pronounce the name, Kate Sith, apparently. Okay, because some people said that, oh, it's gonna be Cat Shit or something like that. No, it's Kate Sith. Yeah, he is Scottish, so that's really cool. But yeah, so like the rest of the girls decide to have fun alongside with Red 13. And then Cloud and Bear decide to find a hotel, which I think the haunted hotel, the haunted mansion, was like super, super cool, man. It feels like the haunted mansion movie that we never got, to be honest, or at least like Final Fantasy VII version, and we get to see a little bit more introduction to Kate Sith, finally, and then there is a huge teaser about the ending because like Kate Sith is like a fortune teller, It's like, man, holy shit, man, and then we get to see like a date scene depending on the player's choice, and again, I watched Maximilian playthrough. He gets Tifa, he's trying to get Aerith, I think, because of the plot that he wants to do, but he gets Tifa on both scene, which is like, okay, that's wonderful, because I was wishing to get Tifa as well. If I play the game, but I didn't, so okay. But yeah, the Tifa scene, the date scene was really, really cool, it was really fun to see the two of them bond, the date scene is like depend on the player's choice, so there is nothing much to say there. But after this, we get to see another important scene, where Barrett is trying to chase after Dyne, and there is some side mission with Gus, where we were tasked to go like into like a chocobo racing, which is like, okay, cool. But we get to the important scene later on with Barrett, where we see Dyne for the first time. And man, I gotta say, man, I think the Dyne storyline in this game is even sadder than the original one, because I think the original one is like, yeah, it's a simple storytelling, and some people might prefer that over this, which is fine, because I think the first one was more abrupt in when where Dyne just like killed himself, like by basically committing suicide, It's like, yeah, nobody see that, nobody see that coming. But in this one, it's like they make Dyne death is even more dramatic than before, because he basically got shot to death by the Shinra troops, because they by the Shinra troops, and he finally saw his wife again in the live stream, like, oh, like I finally reunite with my wife, which I think is really, really nice, to see that final scene with Dyne, and obviously like Barrett reaction, man. I gotta give credit to John Eric Bentley as well, which is the voice actor for Barrett. Like every single voice actor in this game is great, by the way. They understand the assignment. They know how to portray the character really well, So yeah, I love the Dyne scene alone, which I think some people might prefer the original death scene, which is fine. But for me, I was like, I like the Rebirth death scene as well, Like yes, it's more longer and way more dramatic than before, but I feel like I like it, I think it's a good scene between Barrett and Dyne, and yeah, and obviously the reveal that Maury is actually not Barrett's daughter, but is actually Dyne's daughter, and it's really sad we don't get to see Dyne and Marlene reunite, So it's like, yeah, like it's really painful, I think, wow. But I think that they did that really really tastefully, for this scene, I liked it a lot. But after that, we get to Gongaga, finally, Gongaga, right? Zack's hometown. And we get some surprise here because like there's a returning character named Cisne from Crisis Core, which I'm so excited, because I think, oh, are we gonna finally learn her real name? No, they're probably gonna save that for part 3, But I feel like Cisne is just here to be like a teaser for part 3 as well, because I don't think Cisne did much in this story. Like she's just there as an update for like, hey, I'm from Crisis Core and I'm here now, which I think is cool. But I feel like she's gonna play a big role in part 3, you know. So I think that, like, okay, I'm really glad that they decided to bring her back, you know, because I think the goal for the FF7 developers is that to bring all the compilation elements together in the remake trilogy, and they are definitely doing that, you know, which I think that's great. However, since we are in Gongaga, we gotta talk about the biggest scene ever, you know, because when Cloud is attacking Tifa. This doesn't happen in the original game, it's completely original. I think in the original game, Cloud is attacking Aerith, but that was like in the Temple of the Ancient, and that scene was technically still there, you know, but this one is completely original because Sephiroth is manipulating Cloud to say that, oh, hey, Tifa is fake here. Tifa is already dead. I killed her. You saw him. You saw her lying there with a lot of blood, you know. So this can be Tifa, you know. This might be Jenova shape-shifting as Tifa, you know, because again, Jenova was able to shape-shift, you know, and I think this is where Sephiroth is like planting that idea in Cloud's head, you know. And yeah, Cloud is literally attacking Tifa, and I think there's a big reason for that because Sephiroth know how important Tifa was to Cloud, you know, especially what's gonna happen in part 3. Like, yeah, Tifa is gonna be super important in part 3, and that's why I think Sephiroth is like trying his hardest to break Cloud and Tifa relationship, but that doesn't happen, you know. But anyway, Cloud attacks Tifa, you know. Tifa falls into like the pool of Mako essentially, and then there is this giant weapon that eats Tifa, you know, and then obviously we get the iconic scene where Cloud yelling Tifa, you know, like with, I think Cody Christian does a great job voicing that line, you know. But what happens next really surprised me because we are in the live stream and we essentially get a prototype scene, you know, from part 3 essentially. The mind scene about Cloud, you know, in part 3 later on, and then in the original game as well, because what happens in the original game, Tifa basically went inside Cloud's mind, and then we get some similar scene that we saw here in Rebirth, you know. So I think I was like, oh, this is just the dev like teasing us what's gonna happen in part 3, and I absolutely love it, you know, because now Tifa is going through her own memory about Cloud, you know, about her childhood, you know, and then she hears Tifa basically hear her parents' voice in the live stream, you know. It's like, oh, okay, I think the parents is going to make an appearance later on in part 3 in some way or form, you know. In a one way or another, and yeah, Tifa basically remembers something that she forget about the Mount Nibel scene, I think, right? Tifa trying to go to Mount Nibel because like her mother just died, and Cloud is trying to stop her, but she didn't listen, and obviously she falls, and then Cloud tried to save her. Cloud failed, you know, and they both fell, and I think Tifa was like in a coma for like a week, you know, and then Cloud basically took the blame for that. And I think Tifa at the time doesn't even remember what happens in that incident, you know. She just like going along with the story that everybody tell her, you know. But now with this live stream, they basically reminding Tifa that, hey, this is what happened. This is what actually happened. Cloud didn't actually responsible for anything. I mean, again, Tifa doesn't necessarily accuse Cloud for like responsible for like putting her into a coma or anything like that. No, she doesn't do that. However, there is like a doubt in her mind. She forgot, and now like the plan is trying to, hey, this is what happened. You know, you should support Cloud. That's essentially what I'm getting from that scene. You know, so I think that's really great. You know, so I think now Tifa already has some experience in the live stream, especially about the memory and her mind. So I think when we get to part 3 where she finally was able to put together Cloud's mind, it will make much more sense, you know, because she's already doing this to herself essentially, you know, where the weapon is essentially trying to protect her from Sephiroth, which I think that's really cool, where we finally see Sephiroth in the live stream, and there is like 2 whispers this time. The white whispers, which represent the planet, and then you got the black whisper, which represents Sephiroth. And then we actually see Sephiroth in the live stream like trying to kill Tifa, right? But the weapons and the whisper is like protecting her all the time. And then she survived the attack, and then Cloud is obviously super depressed and sad, you know, because like he just thought that, oh, Tifa is dead. But no, Tifa is alive, and then the weapon basically resurfaces, and then give Tifa back to the party, you know. And we got some similar scenes, you know, where Tifa is like, sorry, not Tifa, but Cloud is like waiting for Tifa to wake up in a bed, you know, which like similar to part 3 later on, you know, where we see Tifa doing the exact same thing to Cloud, you know, in a wheelchair, you know. And we get some heartwarming scene between Cloud and Tifa, you know, where Tifa basically said, now I know what happens. Like, you're not responsible for that incident, you know. And then Cloud basically said that, well, I don't know who I am, you know, for the most part, you know. Like, it's a really good scene, you know, because this is where Cloud basically admitting that to Tifa that, hey, I was confused. Like my mind was messed up. I don't even know who I am, and I don't think I'm a hero, Like what kind of hero basically led someone to fall to their death or something like that, right? And Tifa basically convinced Cloud, no, Cloud, like you were there for me. If that's not a hero, I don't know what is, And then they nearly kiss, or like they're like leaning to each other. They nearly kiss, and then Yuffie and Casey was like kiss, kiss, in the door. Because I think that's a really cute moment, So I think that's really really cool, They add more depth to Cloud and Tifa relationship a lot, And I think this part is super important because it's gonna happen again in part 3, but way more bigger and way more dramatic, It's like wow, it's gonna be great, So after that, they decided to go to Cosmo Canyon, which is Red 13's hometown, which I think that's really really cool. We just go to the Cosmo Canyon region, we finally met Bugenhagen, for the first time, and also we also get a reveal that Red 13 actually has an actual voice because Red 13 or Nanaki is actually 48 years old. However, in human age, he was like 16, which I thought was, oh, there's a cool comparison to Cloud, because Cloud is a 21-year-old man. However, mentally, he's a 16-year-old, You don't see that because this is not the real Cloud, Which we're going to get to that later, way later, But I think there's a cool parallel between Red 13 and Cloud, So that's pretty cool. Some people might not like the Red actual voice, because they always think that Red is a cool character, a wise character, which eventually was revealed that, oh, no, he's not, He's actually just a child, Because I like it, because I think it's such in line with the Final Fantasy VII character in a way. I don't know if Red's 13 voice was changing in the original Final Fantasy VII because there is no voice, But I think it was insinuate maybe. But either way, I like it, I don't hate it, And and this scene is a bit funny to me because like I watched Maximilian do it, right, and I think I remember back in 2020, Maximilian basically said, oh, when we get to Cosmo Canyon, when we get to Bugenhagen, we're gonna get like an actual exposition about the whispers, the timeline, the worlds, like there's gonna be like huge like Bugenhagen is gonna show a huge exposition for us, and that doesn't happen. Bugenhagen doesn't even know anything about the whispers, It's just like, oh yeah, here's the planet and here's the live stream and here's the knowledge about it, Which the exact same way from the original game, And when Tifa tried to ask question to Bugenhagen about the weapon and the whisper, Bugenhagen just dismisses Tifa completely. Like, hey, I don't believe that. Like, oh, like I didn't expect that, But I think it was revealed later on that he actually knows about the weapons and the live stream itself, because he was so knowledgeable about the entire thing, but at the same time he doesn't want to acknowledge this because it scares him, so that's why he doesn't want to talk about it, all like, okay, that's really cool. And he also even teased that, okay, I'm gonna find out more information about the whispers, which I think in the third game, that's where Bugenhagen is going to give us some exposition about the whispers and the timeline as well. I think it's gonna be really, really cool, man, But yeah, I love Cosmo Canyon a lot, I love how the scene itself, in the fireplace, later that night in Cosmo Canyon, we get to see Aerith's story a bit more, where she was alone, she doesn't have much friend, but now she has something that she loves, and then she wants the best for everyone, and she wants to save the planet, And I think, yeah, Aerith is such a tragic character, because like this happy-go-lucky girl, but has a really sad and depressing past, like she lost her mother, her childhood was spent with Shinra, right, and then she doesn't have many friends growing up, and now she has a friend. She has many friends with Tifa, Cloud, and everybody else. But you know what's gonna happen to her, and I think she even knows what's gonna happen to her. So it's like a really sad character, man. Like I feel so bad for Aerith, man, especially in this game a lot, But yeah, that's a nice scene, Like Aerith has some happy moment at least, like the Cosmo Canyon people are trying to support Aerith. Like, hey, we're here for you, we are supporting you. Like that's a really really nice moment, And after that, we get to see, I think we return to Nibelheim, right? Because I think the ropeman was like, oh, Nibelheim, So it's like, yeah, we're going to Nibelheim. And also, yeah, I forgot to mention this. We met Sid. We met Sid Highwind when we were journeying to Cosmo Canyon. Because we need like a plane to go there, and then Sid show up with a tiny Bronco. So like, yeah, I think Sid's character is really cool. I think he is like a Han Solo in this game, which is like a very different character from the OG Sid, because the OG Sid is an asshole. Like he's a dick to everyone, And in this game, no, he's not. He's actually nice to everyone, and I think that might upset some people. I already see some people on Twitter complaining, which I think that's fair, that's fine. But I also like his new personality as well, because he's likable, He's essentially Han Solo in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, And yeah, I don't really mind his character, at least for me, That's really fun. But yeah, we call Sid again, we go into Nibelheim, and then wow, Cloud has a lot of flashback in Nibelheim, and we also get some nice moment between Cloud and Tifa again, because Tifa basically talk about like her past, and then obviously now she knows that, well, like Shinra decided to rebuild this town, because like this town has burned down, and that she's not gonna let this to rest, because like this is unacceptable, people die, and then Shinra just like shrug it off, like, hey, Nibelheim is fine, guys, nothing happened here, and they just like cover it up, And after this, we get to see like a big reveal for the plot, because Cloud actually remembers Zack in Nibelheim, which is like surprised many people, especially from the OG fans, Like, yeah, Cloud doesn't remember Zack in the original game until like way later, after he recover his memory, but now he remembers Zack, which I guess that makes sense, because like now he knows Zack, who Zack actually is, So when you get revealed later on by Tifa what actually happened in the Nibelheim incident, then Cloud would understand, oh yeah, that's Zack, okay. But yeah, that's a cool reveal, man, because like, oh, Cloud remember who Zack is, like, oh, Zack is this guy, head over heels for Aerith, and he says, like, you were here with me 5 years ago. What happened to you, So like, and then we get to see another interesting plot point where Cloud, Tifa, and Yuffie basically climbing the mountain, and then we see Cloud having another flashback, where he remembered things in a wrong way, because like he remember like this random soldier that got like washed away by the river is actually Zack, or at least according to his memory. So Cloud was like, oh, this is what happened to Zack. Zack died this way. And I think we should tell Aerith, because like, well, she deserved to know. But I feel like, and then after that, he questioned Tifa like, hey, why didn't you tell me this? And then Tifa was like, I just didn't want to upset you, that's all. But even this, like, again, Tifa doesn't know the truth as well. She know what happens in the Nibelheim incident, but not 100%, So I think that's a cool dynamic between Cloud and Tifa. Cloud is starting to lose it here to Sephiroth, and then Tifa was like, hey, like, bringing him back to reality, like, hey, you good to go? Like, you're okay? Like, that's really cool, man. And of course, when we get to the reactor, we see Tifa having a huge flashback, about her father's death. And I love how Tifa basically hyperventilating, and then just like, and Tifa obviously traumatized by this, she is scared, and basically Cloud was there to comfort her, which I think that's a really nice scene as well. After that scene, we get to see a new character named Vincent Valentine finally, right, the former Turk. And something unexpected happened, because like Vincent Valentine pretty much become a boss in this game, which I think might be, I don't know if he transformed in the original Final Fantasy VII, but I remember that he's transformed in Dirts of Cerberus, so I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, he's a boss fight in this game, but we don't get to see much of Vincent, like, or I guess like, most of his backstory is gonna be saved for part 3. Obviously, we're gonna go in depth for Vincent's character in part 3. But I gotta mention another important scene in Nibelheim where Cloud basically remembered the tube in a way, or wasn't remember, like he saw the tube, which is like the tube where he and Zack was experimented by Hojo for 5 years. And he has like I think he has like some memories about that, but not entirely, because Tifa and Aerith has to pull him out of the place, so like so Cloud just doesn't just like go insane again, which I think is really, really nice of them, and after that, they leave the reactor, and then we get to see Roach again. And interestingly enough, Roach essentially has some experiment by Professor Hojo, because I think Roach wants to, I guess, enhance himself in a way, because he wants to become stronger. And something surprising, I guess, to me happened, that Rose becoming the rope man. Like I was like, oh damn! Like, I actually feel bad for him, because I think from the first game on into this game, I think Roach is such a charming character. Like I don't really hate him, because he's so much fun to watch. So yeah, when he basically turned to like a rope man, like I feel bad for him. Because like now we no longer get the real Roach. Now we just like the guy that got merged with Genova in a way, right? Which is like, okay, that's quite interesting to see that happen on screen, for the first time. But yeah, after this, they decide to leave Nibelheim, and they decide to return to Gold Saucer, which we finally get to a date scene again. Now, granted, again, this is based on the player's choice, and since I was Maximilian Dude, he got Tifa, as her date for the second time, which I think this is like the official date. So we get like a loveless play, which I think that's really really cool VR, and of course we see Jessie again in a VR. So like it's not like a another timeline thing, but it's just like they brought back Jessie, but it's a VR, It's essentially like an archive footage for what Jessie could have been, But sadly, she passed away. And we get to see like Jessie performing in the loveless play, So like I think that's a really really cool scene a lot, and it's really well directed. It's really charming, and after that we get to see like we get to play as the character from the loveless poem, and then Cloud and whoever he was dating is playing the hero and Princess Rosa, right? And yeah, I'm gonna say it right now. I think Princess Rosa is more fitting for Aerith in a way, because like I mean, her weapon of choice is like similar to Aerith in a way. So I think that's like, I don't know. For me, I think I think they even said that the default choice for Princess Rosa is actually Aerith, But I think that's quite interesting for me, But even then, I think the play is super fun. I think he has some huge implication for certain character, even though that the play was supposed to be fun and dramatic, and pretty sad as well. However, it has some serious implication for the story of Final Fantasy VII, especially for Rebirth, and maybe in the future. And it was like, damn, dude, like holy shit, And after that, we get to see Aerith sing, like singing his song. I think Promises to Keep. I think that's the song's title, where yeah, she basically expressed her feelings about like his life, and I think it's just like a really really sad song, because especially for Aerith, because again, she knows what's gonna happen to her. And obviously she wants to do her best to protect her friends that she just met, because like she was alone for the entirety of his life, for her life, for the most part, and now she finally makes some true friends, with Tifa and Cloud as well. And it's just like, yeah, man, it's just really depressing to see that, because what's gonna happen to Aerith eventually. And even Aerith herself cry in that scene, because like this is her expressing her feelings through this song. And it's beautiful, man. I love the music a lot. And I even love where they show Jessie, Biggs, and Wedge, in the live stream, essentially, like basically waving goodbye to Aerith, like, hey, we returned to the live stream, we are happy, like, oh, that's a really nice scene, saying goodbye to the character. And, Aerith cries again, and it's like, man, it's just, oh, it's a lot, But yeah, regardless to say, the loveless scene is beautiful, man. I love it so much, it's really well directed. And I also mentioned one scene in the date scene, which I did not see it coming, the Cloud and Tifa date scene, because Cloud and Tifa actually kiss in the date scene, and I was like, whoa, because I did not expect to see that, because I think, oh, like they're gonna save like Cloud and Tifa kiss in part 3, I think that's definitely gonna happen, that's what me and some people also like, or like I guess most people have their own opinions about that, but I think that's what wasn't all of us, but I think most of us are expecting to see that in part 3, where they finally kiss, because they're gonna teasing that here. And to some extent, yes, this is like depending on the player's choice, but I think every single choice, every single relationship between Cloud and other characters are important, but I think that even the devs said that recently, like, yeah, every single choice is important, to Cloud. So yeah, like Cloud and Tifa actually kiss in Rebirth. I did not see that coming, and that makes me so happy in a way, I'm like, oh, like they're actually doing this, like, wow, I did not see that coming. This is amazing, Even Maximilian has a funny line where saying, your relationship with Tifa has certainly changed on the way to that legendary sex scene. It's like, oh my god, okay, all right, okay, fine, cool. I think that might happen, but I don't know because of the game rating. So after this, we get to see like a fight scene between Don Corneo and the team. So Don Corneo is coming back in this game along with Abzu and then the other 2 members of him, and then we get a rap battle, which is super fun. But yeah, Don Corneo just basically ran away again, because that's not the place he dies. He's gonna die in Wutai, where he kidnaps Yuffie and Elena, which I cannot wait to see a scene between Yuffie and Elena, because they both are so similar with one another, so I think that's gonna be really funny to watch, but I do have the callback from the OG remake, sorry, not the OG, but like from Final Fantasy VII remake, and I guess the OG game as well, where basically every single character is like, hey, we're cutting them off, or we should rip them off, or we should smash them off, and Retro Team was like, no, don't worry, I just bite them off, It's like, oh damn, I love that callback a lot, it's funny, But after that, the Turks arrive and stole the the relics from the Temple of the Ancient, essentially, and then finally the chapter are moving forward this time around to the Temple of the Ancient, and then we also get a little bit of Zack's memory here and there, about like how he met Biggs, and then we get to see a revelation that this Biggs from Zack's timeline is actually our Biggs, because when he's about to die, he got transported to another timeline, where the place is not falling, and the Whisper is the one who's responsible to transfer Zack, sorry, not Zack, but Biggs, So that's really cool. And also Marlene from Zack's timeline is actually from our timeline, because she got a flashback from the Final Fantasy VII remake, So I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So Biggs and Marlene in Zack's timeline is actually from our timeline. That's interesting. That's like a convergence happened there, and they don't even realize that, So I think that memory might be messed up as well, because it's a different time, I guess. But yeah, I think there's more to that. I don't think that is a full-on answer, because I think that's the mystery. But I guess we'll see what happens in the future. But yeah. Oh my god, this video is nearly an hour long. I'm sorry, guys, but it's a long game. I'm sorry, but I wanted to cover most of the main story, So we get to the Temple of the Ancient finally, and then we see the character going to a trial, which I think that's super interesting, except for Cloud, which I think that makes sense, So it's on every single trial is actually really, really sad, because we got Barrett basically experiencing the loss of his wife, Marina, I think, from the Corel town, which I think, yeah, man, like this man lost the entire town. This man lost his wife, and then his best friend Dyne as well. Like, god damn it, man, it's just like, oh, it's depressing, And then we get to see Red 13 get experimented by Hojo, which is like, oh man, like, again, showing how evil Hojo was. And then we get to see Tifa experiencing the Nibelheim incident again, obviously, and then the death of her father. And then we get to see Yuffie going to her own trial with Sonon, which happens in the DLC intermission, and then we see Nero again from Dirge of Cerberus from intermission as well. So I was like, oh man, like I think all the trials are good, and I think the best one, which I think they save it for last, is obviously Aerith, because I think Aerith has the best flashback ever, because we get to see Afalna, and then we get to see the child Aerith essentially trying to get help from the people around her, but the people around Sector 5 doesn't even give a shit about her, and then they basically push her to the ground, and then her mother is dying, and then she saw Elmira, and then it's just like, yeah, it's really sad, because like it's literally child Aerith like crying in the street because like her mother just died, and then he got the Black Materia for the first time, and it's like, yeah, man, it's depressing, man. I think Aerith is like probably have the most depressing flashback ever, because again, like for a character that was like super happy and super happy-go-lucky character, has a really really sad past, man. And I think that's just like, wow, I think I nearly cried, watching that scene with Aerith, like holy shit, man. The voice acting in that scene is also really really great, so it's like, man. It says all after that we get to see Aerith giving some important exposition, because like she basically convinced everybody that, hey, like I know that our anger and hatred can turn into like a power for us. However, that's not what I believe. I believe that we should fight with hope and happiness in a way, I guess, some positive energy for us, So I think that's what Aerith said here is really important, especially what's gonna happen to Sephiroth later on. But that's gonna make the big crack theory, But I like the speech alone by Aerith, So I think she's the kind of character that tried to stay positive no matter how worse the world around her was, So I think, wow, you're perfect, girl. I love you, Either way, guys, we get to see Cloud finally going to some dark moments, where like this is like the Anakin Skywalker Darth Vader situation, where Cloud is essentially turning into Darth Vader here, turning evil, which I think is really well done by the voice actor Cody Christian, because like he just dismisses Aerith, like, are you finished? Come on, like the Black Materia is waiting, and throughout this entire chapter, Cloud is like basically, hey, we need to find the Black Materia before Sephiroth. Like, we just need to find them, before they do. And Cloud basically went through his own trial where Sephiroth called him out like, oh, like, you never cry for Jesse's death. You never cry for anybody's death because, like, you're just a blind guy. Like, you don't care. You don't have any emotion, and that's what you are. And you should embrace that or something like that, right? And Cloud basically said to the rest of the party, like, that's not me, I'm not like him. I'm not like Sephiroth. And Tifa said, oh, it's okay. We know, and yeah, man, it's a pretty hard, wow, it's a pretty hardcore scene for Cloud, because I think we all know he's gonna turn evil later on in part 3, and I think even more evil than the original Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. You know, so I was like, yeah, man, that is pretty interesting to see where they're gonna go with this story. But after that, Cloud gets the Black Materia. The temple is collapsing. Kate Sid. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. Kate Sid is actually a traitor, you know, because like he betrays the team. But eventually now he's coming back to save the party member by holding the thing in the Temple of the Ancient, you know, before it collapses on him. And the rest of the party member basically escape from the temple. And then we get a big scene, you know, where, well, Kate Sid survived because like, he's a robot. There is multiple of them. And we get to see Sephiroth appearing again alongside with the Black Whispers. And we get to see Cloud, you know, went through like his evil arc essentially, and then he tries to deliver the Black Materia to Sephiroth. Tifa tries to stop him, and then Aerith picks the Black Materia, you know, and Cloud is actually trying to get to Aerith and potentially trying to hurt her in a way. And Cloud pushed Tifa down and start aftering Aerith. But then he remember who Aerith was, and he snaps back to reality, and then they both fall into like to the ground essentially, you know, and Cloud passes out. And then this is where we get to see a 3-piece scenes, man, for a lot of times, because we get to see like an update for Zack's timeline. What is Zack's doing, you know, making a choice to save Cloud and Aerith or Biggs, you know, but we see Cloud basically waking up in this alternate timeline, you know, where we see like a different stamp dock in it, because like the stamp dock is basically the clue for us, the player, that oh, this is like a different world, this is like a different timeline, which I think that's quite obvious, you know, for a lot of people. But I think that's quite interesting that they're showing a different stamp back here, because it's not the same from the Zack's timeline. And I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So I think this version of Aerith is actually way different than we were expecting, and I think we're gonna get to that later in the theory, you know. So for now, we get to see Aerith and Cloud going through a date, you know, and then Aerith basically give Cloud the white materia that actually glowing this time, and then she pushes Cloud to like the yellow flower, and I think that's like a portal to like another world, you know. And then we see Sephiroth entering the church, potentially trying to kill her, you know, because like Sephiroth said, oh, so this is where you've been hiding, in a world that has accepted his fate, you know. I was like, oh, okay, so Sephiroth has been hunting this specific Aerith this entire time. Okay, what was that mean? I don't know, you know. But so Cloud and Aerith had their goodbye, and Sephiroth entered the church trying to kill Aerith. We don't see what happens to this Aerith, you know, maybe she died, maybe she doesn't, who knows. But now we get to see Cloud in the live stream, and then Sephiroth gives like a very big exposition, you know, which might be too much to some players, obviously, you know. But either way, Sephiroth gives an explanation, basically saying that, oh, this is the true state of reality. And then he also explains to Cloud that when you kill the Arbiters of Fate in the original game, in the remake, it basically like create an alternate world, you know. There is like multiple worlds, not just two, but many worlds, you know, essentially like a multiverse in a way. So I think, oh, that's really cool, you know. So it's not just two timeline, but multiple timeline. Like, that's just insane to me. And I love how Sephiroth just like, hey Cloud, listen to me, man, this is what happened right now, you know. And it's like, okay, cool, you know. So Cloud gets sent to like another timeline, basically returning to his timeline in a way, or I guess like his consciousness in a way. And then he met Aerith in the sleeping forest, you know, and Aerith actually says something important, saying that, oh, like, I'm trying to find the real you, Cloud, you know, and don't mind about Sephiroth, you know, I can handle him. However, you need to take care of yourself. It's like, yeah, that is super important, because this is not the real Cloud. Even Aerith said that, I'm trying to find the real you. Even in the date scene with Aerith in Golden Saucer, he said the exact same thing, you know, I'm trying so hard to find you, to find the real you, you know. So it's like, yeah, she knows that this is not the real Cloud. So it's like, okay, you know, that's a really cool setup for the next game, you know. And we get the same scene where Cloud tried to stop Aerith, you know, but this time the White Whisper is like stopping him, and Aerith just like go to the forgotten capital. And then we get to see some interesting update with Cloud, you know, because like Cloud basically passed out, and then she has this vision with Aerith in her, and not in his room, but I guess like his consciousness was like transferred to like another timeline, I guess. And then now he eventually returned. He eventually like, you know, wake up, you know, and then we see the rest of the party member wasn't able to chase Aerith because like the sleeping forest is like stopping them. The White Whisper is stopping them. But now we finally get to the final chapter. Jesus Christ, this video is an hour long. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, I love this game. Okay, I'm sorry, I want to talk about it. But again, the final scene with Aerith's death is actually quite confusing. A lot confusing, because Cloud stops Sephiroth's attack, which I was like, oh, that's interesting. That doesn't happen in the original game. However, the reality glitched again, and then it was revealed that, oh, it doesn't matter because Aerith dies either way. So I think for me that's like the timeline converging maybe, and Sephiroth has a lot of line, man. So I think I'm gonna save the ending discussion for like later on in my ending theory, you know. So for now, my review for the final chapter is like, well, it is super confusing, and I guess like, you know, I have some theory on my own, but I feel like Maximilian theory is probably also really good. But I don't think there is a concise theory. I don't think there is like a definite theory that can prove the answer here, because I think a lot of the scene was intentionally vague for us the player, because I think the devs figure out that, oh, like people figure out the plot for Final Fantasy VII Remake too much, you know. So like now we have to intentionally make it super vague, you know, for so like we can exactly predict where the story is going to go, you know. So I guess we have some expectation for part 3. Of course, it's gonna follow the OG Final Fantasy VII storyline. Yes, it's gonna happen, you know. However, this new storyline, I have no idea how it's gonna end. I have no idea how is going to wrap up, you know. So I think Clown and Zack is going to team up again. Which, again, that is one thing that I did not expect to see that, you know, because I think Clown and Zack teaming up, I thought they're going to save that for part 3. Even Maximilian said, oh, they're going to save that for part 3, right? That makes sense, you know, but it happens in this game. You know, just a bit, just a teaser, obviously, but like it happens in this game. So I was like, damn, okay, I didn't expect that, you know. And also, Aerith came back to fight Sephiroth in the end, so okay, what happened there? Like, it was intentionally super confusing and super vague, so the players can exactly, you know, find the answer immediately, you know. So I think, all right, fine, we're gonna patiently wait for part 3. But I feel like right now people are super anxious for part 3, including myself, even though again I can't play the game, but I love the game and I want to talk about it, you know. But anyway, that's it for this video, guys. Again, it's an hour video. I'm sorry. I thought that this video is gonna be maybe 30 to 40 minutes long, but no, it's an hour. But yeah, it's a long game, and there's a lot of plot point that I like to juggle, and I don't think anyone will be watching this. But I guess we'll see what happens, you know. I still plan to make these other 2 videos talking about the ending theory, and then the part 3 videos, you know, my expectation for part 3, which I think that should be fun. That's basically my review for the story, you know. I love it a lot, you know. I think my favorite one is the Gongaga Simutin Clan Tifa. I think that's like really stand out to me, but I feel like the rest of them are really, really good. I love the Aerith moment as well in Cosmo Canyon, you know. I love that the loveless scene when Aerith basically sing, you know, and I think expressing her feelings, that's really, really good, you know. It's really sad, obviously. I like the Dyne scene a lot, you know. I think some people might prefer the simpleness of the original death scene, but I like the new one as well, you know. I think it gives Dyne a bit more depth than before, you know. And I love the Temple of the Ancient Trial as well, you know. Basically, we get to see a lot of the character depth and development throughout this game, because in the remake you don't get to see a lot of that, but now in this game they basically build the character moments and development a lot. So I think that's really, really good, you know. Even Yuffie has her own character development, where throughout the game Yuffie was like, oh, we gotta get, you know, we gotta get materia, you know, materia every single time. But when Aerith was in danger in the final chapter, she's like, okay, I don't care about the black materia anymore, we're going to save Aerith. So I think that's really, really cool that she has her own character development there, you know. So like, yeah. So either way, that's my story review, guys. I guess let me know in the comment section below, what is your favorite story moment from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, you know, and what is your favorite region and location, you know, because I would love to hear about them. And who is your favorite character, you know. Again, this is not a debate, I'm just asking you guys, you know, like who is your favorite character, you know. So yeah, let me know all that in the comment section below, guys. And if you guys enjoyed this video, then make sure, guys, you know, slash that subscribe and like button, guys. Again, stay tuned for more videos in the future. I plan to make more. I plan to make 2 more of this in the future. So I guess we'll see when that's gonna happen, because I have to edit this video, man. It's an hour long, so yeah. Either way, guys, that's my review for the story. Again, not the gameplay, because I don't play the game, but the story and the character of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Regardless to say, I love them a lot, man. This character is so special to me, you know. So like, yeah. Cannot wait for part 3s, but yeah, that's basically it for the video, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this an hour long video, and I will see you guys in the next one then. Bye.